Juan Soto of the currently Washington Nationals. Some news came out over the course of the last few days from Buster Olney saying there are some rival executives around the league that believe there is a chance Juan Soto is traded. Traded. One of the best hitters certainly in the game right now, and we'll dive a little deeper into that in a second, but I was mind blown by this. And it's not to say it's going to happen, but there are some execs around the league that believe he's going to be shopped. And it really got me to thinking, like, what's it going to take? What's a trade package going to look like for Juan Soto? Are you kidding me? And two teams that I've heard their name tossed around, the Padres and the Blue Jays, are teams that would be interested. And you hear interested, but like, who wouldn't be interested in Juan Soto? You know, but those are two teams that I've heard will maybe even make a push. So this tweet was great. All right, after seeing Juan Soto trade rumors on Twitter, just hear me out for a second. Okay, just for a quick second. Soto to the Jays? So what's a trade like that going to look like? And it got me to thinking. And I used the Blue Jays and the Padres for reference here. The Blue Jays have a couple of top prospects in baseball, in Jordan Groshans and Gabriel Moreno. I think it's going to take both of those guys in a package, and probably a guy at the big league level already. Top two prospects, a big league talent already. I just struggle to wrap my mind around what it could possibly be. If you're looking at the Padres, Mackenzie Gore, who's already shown to be a big league caliber player. C.J. Abrams, who's a top prospect at shortstop. I think that could be a good fit, actually, because you have Fernando Tatis wrapped up there at shortstop for a long time to come, and then you have a top prospect at shortstop. The more I think about it, the more the Padres make sense. What are you going to do with the top prospect shortstop when you have Fernando Tatis? Are you going to move Tatis long-term elsewhere because of his shoulder issues? Maybe. Are you going to trade Abrams to get Juan Soto? Maybe. So, I don't know. It really is going to take a lot. It made me look back into history and look at some of the old trades that have gone down along this caliber of a trade. And one thing that really jumped out to me is there's really not. Juan Soto is 22 years old, and he's already largely considered to be the best hitter in the game of baseball. Now we're talking about a possible trade for a guy that's not even close to being in his prime? I mean, I look back at some of the major trades that we have seen, one of them being fairly recent, Mookie Betts. An MVP gets traded from the Red Sox to the Dodgers. And let's look at who was a part of that trade. Alex Verdugo, big league talent, plays in the Red Sox outfield right now. Jeter Downs, top prospect right now. Connor Wong, another prospect. So this is a trade where this is probably the closest comparable thing that we have seen. So we don't really know what those prospects are going to turn out like. That's the problem. Let's go back a little bit. CC Sabathia traded to the Brewers from, at the time, the Indians. They get Matt Laporta, Zach Jackson, Rob Bryson, and Michael Brantley. So that one turned out okay. Michael Brantley has been a really good player in the league for a while. Another one that jumped out, Alex Rodriguez. Obviously, one of the best players of all time. This could be a different looking trade. They traded straight up Alfonso Soriano. Soriano goes to the Rangers, and then A-Rod to the Yankees. So maybe that's an option, like a big league all-star for one of the teams, straight up for Juan Soto. I don't know. What does that look like? If you're the Blue Jays, producer Conrad, what does that look like? Is that like a George Springer for Juan Soto? Like, I don't know.
I don't think that any of us can really comprehend what would happen to get Juan Soto.
Because we've never seen this.
We've never seen it. We've never seen it happen at such a young age. You know, I mean, I guess the equivalent would have been if Bryce Harper would have been traded his last year before in Washington, you know. But there's the other side of this, too, is that you talk about the Padres, you talk about the Blue Jays. How in the world can you afford to have $200-300 million guys on each one of those rosters?
I don't know, but when I figure it out, I will be sure to let you know how I afford.
I mean, Juan Soto is going to get minimum $350 million.
Juan Soto could get $500 million, and it's
really
not crazy to say that. But he absolutely could.
I guess that's to me is what I'm trying to think of. What would be a comparable package? Because it doesn't matter what you get back. You're not going to get back what you gave up.
Right. So there's a few factors at play here. Like Soto is due to make his money pretty soon. So you trade for Juan Soto, you're going to give up your top prospects and probably a big league already producing talent. So you're giving those guys up, and then you're not going to give those guys up without locking him up long term. So not only are you going to have to give up multiple top prospects, deplete your system, as well as a big league talent, you're also going to have to pay him close to $500 million. It is wild what's happening, and I truly believe that if anybody's worth it, it's Juan Soto.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that we look back at the Dodgers trade yesterday or last year for Scherzer and Turner. The Dodgers already won a championship in the last 5 years. So for them, they can push all their chips in. We already have one in the back pocket. Let's move all in and try to make another championship run happen. If you haven't won a championship yet, a la Toronto or the Padres, it's really hard to go all in if you haven't won anything yet.
Right, absolutely. First off, I'm really glad you got Scherzer right there because we were talking pre-taping of this, and you were really struggling saying Max Scherzer, but you nailed it when it mattered, my friend. And you're right. You know, like, do you deplete a system? It is mind blowing, and it's tough to think about. And I'm glad this came out because it at least allowed us to talk about it. What do you do if you're a team? Do you deplete the system and give all this money up for a guy like Juan Soto, who could potentially be the best hitter in the game and one of the best of all time? Which is what I wanted to get to now. Is Juan Soto. Like, we're talking a lot about what it would take to give him up. Let's talk about how good he really is. Let's talk about how he could be, yes, the best hitter in the game right now, and he could be one of the best hitters that this game has ever seen. Let's look at this. Here's a list of the players since 1901 to have more than 1,000 plate appearances on the road and an OPS over 1,000 in those road games. Babe Ruth, heard of him. Lou Gehrig, heard of him. Ted Williams, Barry Bonds, Joe DiMaggio, Juan Soto. I mean, that is, you hear it all the time. That's pretty elite company. That's the best of the best company that you could ever be in, those names. And Juan Soto has already put himself in that hemisphere, in that conversation. It's remarkable. At 23 years and 169 days, Soto is just the 7th active player to hit 100 homers at age 23 and younger. I think that he's 22. 22 and 169 days. The other names, Miguel Cabrera, Ronald Acuna Jr., Albert Pujols, Giancarlo Stanton, and Mike Trout. I mean, it truly is. This is what we are seeing right now from Juan Soto, who is 22 years old, is that he is putting himself already in all-time conversations. Look at this comparison with Mike Trout, who I have on my Mount Rushmore of baseball players. When all is said and done, Mike Trout is for sure going to be on the Mount Rushmore of baseball. Let's compare the two. Through 2,123 plate appearances, okay? Trout was at 2,189. So virtually the same amount of plate appearances. Homers, Juan Soto, 104 to Trout's 98. RBIs, Soto has the lead. Walks, Soto has over 130 more walks. That's a vital part of this guy's success. Strikeouts, far less. Average, Trout's slightly higher. I mean, this is talking about an all-time great in Mike Trout, one of the greatest to ever do it. So we start hearing that a trade is possible with Juan Soto, and it's easy to lose sight of how young he is. Juan Soto has been making a difference in the game of baseball for a long time already, it feels like. He's already won a World Series. If you were to think about it, like, you'd probably guess Juan Soto's around 25, 26 years old. He's 22 years old, and he's already in conversations with Ted Williams. Juan Soto and Ted Williams are the only players in the modern era with 100-plus homers, 400-plus walks, and 500-plus hits in their first 500 games. Him and Ted Williams, the splendid splinter, who many consider to be the greatest hitter of all time. of all time. And Soto has done it at an age of 23 years and 169 days. That's remarkable. And that's why we're here talking about this. Because, yes, he's a big name on the trade block, but yes, he could arguably go down as the biggest name, the best player ever traded. And that's not far-fetched to say by any means.
No, it's absolutely not. And it's one of those things where wherever he does end up, obviously, he's going to go to an instant contender because he's that good of a player. But this is kind of unprecedented territory that I think a lot of sports fans are starting to get kind of used to, especially from smaller markets. We've talked about this as being a major problem with baseball at times, is that the smaller markets, they get these really good guys, they grow them, they get to use them, pay them not a ton of money for 4, 5, 6 years. And then as soon as they have to get paid, they're like, see you later. We'll just get some prospects back and we'll start this whole entire thing over again.
Yeah. And you know, I keep looking and seeing stats, and it truly is remarkable. Now, I wouldn't even consider Juan Soto like a known power hitter. I just think he's like the pure best hitter in the game. But look at this stat. He's the 8th youngest at the time of his 100th home run. He's 23 years and 169 days. Mel Ott did it at younger. Tony Conigliaro, Eddie Matthews, Alex Rodriguez, Andrew Jones, Miguel Cabrera, and Johnny Bench. Like, those are the only guys to do it younger. Soto's also the youngest player in Nats/Expos history to hit his 100th career homer. It's incredible. It really is. And that's why this is such a big deal. And that's why I wanted to take a good bit of time to, one, talk about what it would take to trade for him, and 2, why it would take that much. Thanks for watching. If you love flipping bats, swinging 3-0, or just talking ball, join us. Call us at 213-537-9339 with your questions. We have a weekly guest, and we have a lot of fun, so hit that subscribe button.